Good morning. I'm thinking about this testimony. The Lord has been working with me on something that's maybe very simple to many, but and that's the idea of thankfulness and how that we should be and I should be grateful and have a grateful heart and a thankful heart for all that God's done for us. One of the things that drew my attention to this was that there's so much in the Bible, if you read through, about giving thanks. God asks us over and over to think about what He's done for us and thank the Lord for that. In Ephesians the 5:20, Paul says, "Giving thanks always for all things unto God." And I just think the emphasis there is over and over to give thanks. And I'm thankful this morning for what God's done for me. Thankful for so many things, a home and a good wife, and I think of my family and grandchildren that are being raised for God, and there's so many things. And I think of the church here, and of course most importantly though, I think of what God did in sending His Son to die for us and giving us a way to salvation. 2 Corinthians 9:15 says, "Thanks be to God for His unspeakable gift." And that is something that I think we should think of every day, God's unspeakable gift, what He's done, how that's changed everything for us. But one of the things that Lord has made me grateful for is our church here, and I want to talk about that just for a minute this morning. I think it's hard to exaggerate the importance of a good church. I'd say many and maybe most of the world goes to churches. They go as a social event. They go to see and be seen. And then during the week, they live a completely different life, a terrible life, completely different life than they live on Sunday. And that's not the case here. Our church is really made up of many people who are trying to serve God and do right before God, become more Christ-like, and live that way their entire life. There's no difference between me and my friends and how we live during the week and how we live here, and that's all because of what God's done for us, and it's very real to us. But you realize that's so unique and sadly unique, and that what we have here is almost unique. I think of a couple of things. Well, one is just the good examples we have here. So many people in this church have helped me with my walk with the Lord. We all struggle with we're sinners. We struggle with sin. We struggle with being drawn to the world. That affects every one of us to one degree or another. But I would say a powerful force in my life has been the friends that I have that are good examples, and that I know they will say something to me if I head that way, and they have, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But Jude 21 says, "Keep yourselves in the love of God," and I believe this is referring to what the hymn writer says in a hymn. He says, "Lord, I'm prone to wander, prone to leave the God I love." We are prone, as I just said, to follow the world, to wander from God, and how important it is to have friends that will help us stay on the right track. And that's just such a blessing to me as you really think about that. And that's all in the context of this church and the wonderful church God's given us. He's given us a place that we can find refuge from the world. The world will steal our joy. If we follow the world, we'll suddenly wake up and find ourselves not happy, wandered from the Lord, and the world does that. And what a wonderful haven that the Lord's given us here. In fact, the name of our church, and of course it's been said over and over, but the name of our church comes from a passage in the book of Acts where Paul was on a ship and they were having terrible weather, and they found a port that was named Fairhaven, and they could winter there, I suppose, and avoid the storms. And so what an appropriate name for a church, Fairhaven. And that's what it means to me. I've had the privilege to work with many newly saved people, and we always recommend, of course, that they read their Bible and learn how to pray. But one of the most important things I think any new Christian can do, as well as old Christian, is to be in church every time there is church, and to be around the right kind of people. And then I'm thankful, it kind of goes with this, but I'm thankful for the accountability that a good church brings. I was speaking to somebody last week about the importance of having a person or people in your life with whom you're accountable to. That might be a good husband or wife, might be a close friend. It could be, of course, pastoral staff. But I work with people. My job is I work with people and help them make better money decisions, budgeting and spending their money in a better way and investing their money. And I think one of the main differences between people who succeed and people who fail is having someone with whom they can be accountable, somebody in their life who, in love, will look at them and say, you know, you're headed down the wrong path. You shouldn't be doing that with your money. And I find that to be so true. If there's no accountability in the matter of money, and this is what I work with, people don't do well. But if they have a good accountability partner, where again, it was a pastor, a friend, or a wife, they most of the time will succeed. And how important it is, and that's what our church does. Over the years, I've had friends tell me when I was wrong or making a bad decision, and they weren't agreeing with my sin. They weren't trying to get me to sin with them. They were looking me in the eye and in love and saying, "Steve, this is the wrong path." And you know, I think about that. If somebody approaches you that's right with the Lord and tries to say, "Hey, I think you're headed down the wrong path," rather than pushing them away, we should thank the Lord for what a wonderful friend that is. That's hard to do as a friend, is to tell somebody else they're wrong, because you don't want to be rejected. But if you have somebody in your life that does that and tells you that, and our church is full of people like that sharpen one another and talk to each other and pray for each other and help steer us when we're going wrong. Of course, the opposite is true. If we're around people who are doing wrong and constantly trying to get us to sin, eventually you will follow that path and you will end up doing wrong. And so, you know, I think of people, if you struggle, as all of us, there have been high points and low points in all of our lives. And I would just recommend that again, you not only be in church whenever there is church, but also during the week, the friends that you have are people from this church. I mean, it's silly to say, I guess. I just went on vacation with 14 other people from this church. And there's a reason for that. They are my friends. I don't have other friends. I don't have friends that are outside that I wish I could vacation with. I vacation with people in church here, and I hang during the week with people in church here. It's just and there's no way to exaggerate what an influence that's been in my life and what influence it could be in our life. Well, thank the Lord for a good church. And to sum it all up, I just wanted to say to the Lord and thank the Lord publicly for what He's done in my life and thank Him for this church. Our church is made up of people who are largely trying to live clean lives before God, and I'm so grateful to God for that influence in my life.